Hello and welcome to Kent Tonight, live on KMTV. I'm Keelan Webster. Your top stories on Friday the 7th of December. Winter water worries. Campaign launched to stop fatal incidents in Kent's waters.
During December, people tend to get a little bit more drunk because of work's Christmas parties, and there's a chance that they could walk home, possibly fall into the river.
Who's my doctor? Villagers put pressure on Medway Council to increase GP services.
Medway Council do not care about the health of people on the peninsula.
Slow down Snodland. Councillors agree to reduce speed on dangerous road.
The 50 mile an hour was a good idea, and so that's now going to be put in place.
And in sport, I'll have a build-up to all the weekend's football across Kent.
First tonight, respect Kent's waters or lose your life. That's the message from Kent Fire and Rescue Service as they launch a campaign to stop needless deaths. It coincides with the second anniversary of Ben Savage's death, who died after falling into the River Medway after a night out. Christina Curtis has been to Maidstone.
Kent Fire and Rescue Service have relaunched their water safety campaign for the festive season and to mark the second anniversary of the death of Ben Savage.
We've launched it now. The 6th of December marked the anniversary of 2 years since Ben Savage went missing after a night out in Chatham and ended up being found in the River Medway. So that's why we've chosen to launch the campaign now, and it's to raise awareness of the dangers of being drunk near water. The likelihood is if you fall into water when drunk, you will drown.
Kent Fire and Rescue Service say that it is a real issue, both in Kent and across the country.
We go to nearly 40 water rescues each year. Some of those will involve one or more people, and some of those will involve drink. Nationally, 89% of men that die following a night out are found in water. 89%, it's a huge amount. Around Christmas time, people are out, they're having a drink, it's a social time of year, so we just need to make sure that people are aware of the fact that when they do drink, don't drink too much, be careful when you're near water. Even the strongest swimmers can't cope in this time of year with the cold water. It will slow down your reaction times. If you're drinking and you're entering the water, you stand much less chance of being able to survive.
24 pubs across the county have already signed up to participate in the campaign and are trying to get people involved and aware. Each of the pubs will have one of these festive rubber ducks in them for people to find, take a selfie with and share on social media with the hashtag #GotDucked, in order to raise awareness of the campaign and the dangers of going near water when drinking.
It's certainly our busiest time of the year, and people do go a little bit over the top sometimes, so it's a great time to launch it. So we're fairly close to the River Medway, and during December people tend to get a little bit more drunk because of work's Christmas parties, and there's a chance that they could walk home, possibly fall into the river and get into difficulties. So if we can do anything to help save lives, we'll do that.
So, however you may be celebrating this Christmas, make sure you stay safe and careful, especially around water. This is Christina Curtis for KMTV.
Next tonight, the jury are still considering their verdicts in the election expenses trial of Kent MP Craig McKinley. The South Thanet MP, as well as election agent Nathan Gray and campaigner Marion Little, deny charges that election expenses returns were falsified. With the latest on the trial, plus more on Brexit, our political editor Paul Francis is at Southwark Crown Court for us now. Paul, the waiting game continues today.
Yes, it does. Day 3 of deliberations by the jury, and they'll be back on Monday to continue those deliberations before delivering their verdict, so there's not much to report on that front.
Of course, we'll have the very latest once the verdict does come in. We spoke a little bit about this to you yesterday, the report by Kent County Council about what would happen to Kent if there was a no-deal Brexit. You've been speaking to Council Leader Paul Carter today about that. What's he had to say?
Well, you'll recall that yesterday we reported on this fairly graphic report detailing some of the repercussions of a no-deal Brexit scenario on Kent in terms of the impact on frontline services, and that led to some fairly lurid headlines about rubbish piling up in streets and funerals not taking place. Now, Paul Carter, the leader of the County Council, has upped the ante a little bit today and has suggested that MPs think long and hard about the proposed Brexit deal that Theresa May is putting forward to Parliament next Tuesday. And he is obviously trying to underline his concerns that a no-deal Brexit scenario would be very damaging potentially for Kent. And I think this is a fairly unprecedented move. Whether he'll get any sympathy from Kent MPs on this matter remains to be seen. There's some fairly certain MPs who are sticking to their position and will be opposing the deal that comes up for a vote next Tuesday.
Do you feel as though the report and Paul Carter are suggesting that maybe Kent isn't ready for a no deal at the moment?
Well, I think it's not so much that Kent isn't ready, but it's all public agencies are not ready. In a sense, this report underlines the enormous amount of work that's going to be involved in preparing for March the 29th.
Well, Paul, much more on that report to come, as well as the trial of Craig McKinley. Thank you very much indeed. Residents in Who are putting pressure on Medway Council to increase the amount of GP services on the peninsula. They argue that with more than 7,000 new residents, surgeries are at a squeeze, and they've tabled a petition with nearly 300 signatures. Residents in the surrounding area feel ignored by Medway Council, as Phil Welbrook went to find out.
Those living on the Who Peninsula are appealing to Medway Council for an increase in GP services in the area. They say that with an estimated 7,000 new residents living there, there'll simply be too much of a squeeze on the 2 existing GP surgeries. Now, this is quite a familiar sight for people on the peninsula. Housing developments to my left and to my right. Medway Council have allowed a lot of money to be spent to bring these housing developments into full flow. But with no GP surgeries and no schools being built recently, locals say that money's being spent in the wrong areas.
No one in Medway Council has taken this on. They're making a lot of money out of developments, and there's a lot of rateable value going in and no infrastructure there at all. And I think it's just time they stood up and said to the people of Who and the people of the peninsula that, you know, we care.
And a petition was set up earlier this year to get the thoughts of the public about the development of homes and GP provision on the peninsula. It was then submitted to Medway Council after getting nearly 300 signatures. But the feeling is now as though those who live in Who are being ignored.
I'm bringing the attention of Medway Council to all these health inequalities. I'm banging the desk as much as I can to make sure that Medway Council listens. They don't obviously want to listen because it is embarrassing for them. They do not care about the people on the peninsula. All it is a land that they're managing to build on to meet the government targets, and they want to bury their heads in the sand as much as they can about providing services for the people on the peninsula.
For some people in Who, they've had to travel for as long as 2 hours using public transport to get the treatment they need. Leader of Medway Council Alan Jarrett does insist, though, that they are balancing the spending on houses with protecting their communities. And in a statement, he said the national government continues to put immense pressure on local governments to meet housing targets as a result of a growing population. He adds they continue to fight for a balance between providing these much-needed homes and protecting their communities, which of course includes the infrastructure and services required for sustainable long-term development. And he also stressed that they are listening to the concerns of residents and are lobbying and taking action. So, though people in Who feel they are being ignored by the council, for now it's the GPs that will have to see if they can survive the squeeze or if money can be found to increase services. This is Phil Welbrook for KMTV in Who.
A teenager who made bogus bomb threats at more than 400 schools, including here in Kent, has been sent to prison for 3 years. 19-year-old George Duke Cohen was arrested after he sent thousands of email warnings in March. Our reporter Poppy Jeffrey's been following the story and joins me now. So Poppy, what else can you tell us about this?
Yeah, so you can see here an image of George Duke Cohen, who is 19 and from Watford, who's been sentenced to 3 years in prison. He emailed thousands of schools back in March, with more than 400 being evacuated with threats of a bomb, including a number in Kent as well. This video shows the moment he was arrested arrested for the third time by the National Crime Agency on August the 31st in his house, and he had actually been arrested twice previously. And Luton Crown Court has heard how he caused a scare with a call to an airport as well. A United Airlines plane was quarantined when it arrived in San Francisco with almost 300 people on board for about 8 hours whilst they investigated. In April, whilst he was still under investigation for sending these emails to schools. He sent another mass email to schools in both England and abroad as well in the US about pipe bombs being on the premises. So it's quite an interesting case, this one.
And what's been said in court about this incident today?
Yeah, so he actually pleaded guilty back in September to 3 counts of making hoax bomb threats, but has now been sentenced to 3 years in prison. The senior investigating officer, Mark Horsfall, said that Duke Cohen made a series of bomb threats that caused serious worry and inconvenience to thousands of people, not least an international airline. He carried out these threats hidden behind a computer screen for his own enjoyment, with no consideration for the effect he was having on others. And despite being arrested and having conditions imposed restricting his use of technology, he persistently broke these conditions and continued his wave of violent threats. So very interesting stuff there, but now obviously he's going to be in prison for 3 years.
Poppy, thank you very much. Coming up after the break, we've got news of a successful campaign to get rid of speed limit reduced on a major road in Kent.
The speed will have to be reduced, and it seems to be a very good idea to make it consistent with the rest of the A228. Of course, the road then goes on into Medway, but Medway Council have already put in place or have approved their 50-mile-an-hour speed limit for their side.
Welcome back to KentOnline live on KMTV. A man's been charged with attempted murder following a stabbing on the Isle of Sheppey. John Brazil, of no fixed address, was arrested in Derbyshire after the incident on the 11th of November. The attack, which took place in Rushendon, left 24-year-old Ryan Abbott so seriously injured he had to be airlifted to a London hospital for emergency surgery. Brazil has been remanded in custody. He's due to appear at Maidstone Crown Court on Monday. Huge mounds of burnt waste left from a fire which ravaged an industrial unit in Margate for nearly a month remain untouched. The abandoned warehouse in Continental Approach had firefighters working for 25 days from September the 15th as the fire continued to burn. In September, 3 12-year-olds and a girl aged 13 were arrested on suspicion of arson. But the site remains untouched since fire crews left nearly 2 months ago, with piles of debris dominating the fenced-off area, and with neighbours saying it's absolutely disgusting that it hasn't been cleared. Councillors in Kent have agreed to reduce the speed limit on a large stretch of road in Snodland from 70 to 50 miles per hour. Campaigners have called for the stretch of A228 to be slowed down, and in a recent meeting it was unanimously given the go-ahead. Harry Pete's been to hear more.
It's the road your sat-nav's likely to take you on if there's issues on the M2 or if you're heading from Tunbridge and Morling to Medway. But soon, the A228 in Snodland could see a big change in its speed limits. As at a council meeting, it was decided overwhelmingly to make the stretch of road completely 50 miles an hour.
The speed limit on most of it is 50 miles an hour, but on the Snodland bypass it keeps changing, 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, and I think it's very misleading for motorists. We advertised the proposal and there were 7 objections in all, but a huge amount of support. It therefore went to a member meeting of Kent County councillors who are local to the area and Tunbridge and Morling councillors, where it was unanimously agreed that the 50 mile an hour was a good idea.
The road behind me is currently national speed limit on one side heading towards Holborough Lakes and 40 miles an hour on this side heading towards the M20, and those different varying speeds, councillors say, is causing drivers confusion and meaning that a lot of the time they don't actually stick to the speed limit of the road that they're on. However, with a new crossing being built at the Holborough Lakes end where it is currently national speed limit, the councillors are also saying that it could be an accident waiting to happen.
The Town Council for some time have been saying that they think it's dangerous the way it goes from 70, which is the national speed limit where it's dual carriageway, to 60, and also we've been campaigning for a long time to put a crossing over the A228 to help those who now live at Holborough Lakes cross the road safely with their children and enjoy the open spaces on the other side as well as get access to the station.
In a council's report, it notes that 8 crashes have occurred on the road in the last 3 years, none of which resulted in serious injuries, and none of which were due to excess speed. Kent Police also carried out their own informal consultation, which also concluded that the 50 mile an hour speed limit may not be a high priority to enforce. But for those in the area, they're adamant that it'll benefit everyone.
It does mean that people and children will be safer crossing the road and being able to get to the station. And if people who live in Holborough and Snodland, that part, are able to cross the road safely and walk or cycle to the station or to school, I think that will actually reduce the overall amount of traffic and make it better for everybody. And it'll be, of course, much less polluting.
A date for the speed limit's introduction hasn't been set yet, but with a new crossing on the way too, for road safety at least, it looks to be a step in the right direction. Harry Pete for KMTV in Snodland.
O2 network users in Kent who were hit by a massive data disruption will receive compensation from the operator. Customers with a monthly subscription will be refunded the cost of 2 days' service by the end of January. Pay-as-you-go customers will get 10% extra when they top up their phone in the new year. Services such as bus timetable information were also affected, while many businesses face disruption. But how reliant are you on mobile data? We asked students at the universities in Medway.
I am very reliant on my phone, literally for everything, especially my 4G, because Wi-Fi doesn't really work in like my home and things like that, so I rely on that data to be able to go on the internet and social media and things like that.
So I'm not actually relying on my data at all, so I only have 1 gig a month,
and I basically only use it when I'm on a bus or when I'm not anywhere that's Wi-Fi, because I'm either at home or at uni and I always have free Wi-Fi, so if it went down for a couple of hours I'd probably be alright, to be fair.
I'm very reliant on my phone. I can't imagine not having my phone on me, and I'm luckily not on O2, but I don't really know what I'd do if 3 went down and I couldn't be on my phone.
I'm very reliant on my phone because I practically use it for everything, and well, if internet went down I would really struggle because like it's my go-to for everything, like it's my means for communication, means for researching in many cases when I don't have a laptop.
As I used before, like every single day, usually I'd feel obviously a bit upset if I lost signal or I couldn't access my broadband or internet on my phone for a day, especially the day we live in now where technology is central.
Students at the universities in Medway there, but what about you? How much do you rely on mobile data? You can let us know using the hashtag KentSays on social media. With news from Priestfield ahead of Gillingham's game with Scunthorpe, plus a build-up to the rest of the weekend's football, here's Joe with the sports. Before that though, Joe, some cricket. Ken's Master Blaster, new contract for him today.
Very exciting news for Spitfires fans, I should say. Alex Blake has signed a contract extension until the 2020 season. Now this just comes just a week. We were talking about the extension of Daniel Bell-Drummond last week. He signed until the end of 2021, so they're obviously getting their new contracts and who they want to keep for the future. He's obviously come through the Kent Cricket Academy, really exciting, won his first county cap last year and boasts some pretty good batting figures, averaging 40 in the One Day Cup, 21 sixes in total. Was also a regular feature in the T20 as well. Very good half century, you will remember, against Middlesex as well. Speaking about his contract extension, he said he's delighted to have committed his foreseeable future, and he can't help but think big things are just around the corner at Kent Cricket.
Yeah, it's very good in the One Day Cup last season. And moving to football, of course, tomorrow lots of games going on across the county. Our National League side down at the bottom, huge weekend for them.
One I've picked out, Dover against Fylde. Andy Hessenthaler says he wants to make Crabble a fortress now as they take on, as they try to make it 4 games unbeaten at the weekend. But Fylde sits 6th in the league. It'll be a tough game there. Obviously, we've heard about this in the past. They've had 7 games on the road, and now they've got 4 out of their next 5 games at home. So that's why he's talking about how he wants to make Crabble a fortress in a busy Christmas period. Elsewhere, Ebbsfleet going host Barnet. Maidstone travel to Barrow, but they're 3 without a win in the league. So Harry Wheeler will obviously want to change that and fast. And meanwhile, in League One, Gillingham travel to Scunthorpe as they look to make it 3 wins in a row. And that's a tie Gillingham fans should favour, as Scunthorpe are a team they comfortably beat 3-1 last season. At that time, the Iron were flying high in the playoff places. Fast forward 11 months though, and it's been a bit of a fall from grace. Scunthorpe now sit 20th, level on points and goals scored with the Gills, and they haven't won a league game at home for more than 2 months. But boss Steve Lovell says that doesn't matter.
It could happen the other way, that their manager is a new manager, relatively new. He's gone in recently, so he'll be, that they drew 3-3 with Oxford when they were 3-0 down. So it shows they got character there, they got fight. So it's important that we go there and just continue doing what we're doing. We're getting there slowly, but gradually we are getting to where we want to be. And it's a long season and we're not halfway through it yet.
But the Gills do have a 400-mile round trip for that game at Glanford Park on Saturday. So how will the players prepare for the 4-hour journey up there? Read a book perhaps, maybe talk tactics, or they could take a nap. Nope, not Gillingham striker Tom Eaves. He's got different plans.
You know what? I just got a Nintendo Switch for my birthday. So Super Smash Bros. Comes out tomorrow, so I can't wait. So I'm probably, as sad as that sounds,
that's you sorted for that.
That's me sorted for 4 hours on the bus on the way up there. Another tough place to go, Scunthorpe, another tough place to go, another long journey. We've got quite a few, over Christmas, so yeah, we're just going to go and try and get a result and just, yeah.
Snooker now, and Ditton's Barry Hawkins has crashed out of the UK Championship in the 4th round. Hawkins took the lead against world number 11 Kyron Wilson thanks to an impressive 87 break in the opening frame. Wilson won the following 2 frames though to take the lead before the Hawk put a ton on the board to make it 2 frames all. But that would be all from Kent snooker star as Wilson went on to win the match 6-2 to set up a quarter-final tie against Stuart Bingham. Well, you're up to date on sport. We'll be back with more for you on Monday, including a brand new episode of Team Talk. Have a great weekend.
It's going to be overcast this evening with strong winds developing across the county with temperatures between 7 and 8 degrees. We can expect some sunny spells tomorrow morning, but the wind will make it feel colder. Highs of 8 into the afternoon. Conditions will stay much the same with highs of 9 degrees. And taking a look at the next few days, we can expect some sun on Monday, but temperatures will stay in the single digits. You've been watching Kent Tonight live on KMTV. There's more news made just for Kent throughout the evening. The very best bits from the last 7 days coming for you next during This Week in Kent. And from 6:30 is the latest episode of Paul on Politics. Have yourselves a lovely weekend. We'll see you once again on Monday.